Iron City built. It's time for the Steel City Nation podcast. Here's your host, Mark Maradei.
Steel City Nation, welcome my guest this evening, Ike Taylor, former Pittsburgh Steeler great. How you doing this evening, Ike?
I'm good, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to have you on the show.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah. Let's start out by talking about a little reflection for you. Let's go back a little bit. You went to the University of Louisiana Lafayette out of high school. Why'd you choose there?
Actually, my Dr. Joe Murray, my principal, kind of took a liking to me. So he saw I was a good kid. He saw I was a knucklehead. He saw past some of the flaws I had as a high schooler. He knew I was a pretty much good athlete. So he went to Louisiana Lafayette and had some connections. And he was like, look, if you go, you're going to have to be a walk-on, but I'm going to drive down with you. And we're going to meet with the dean. I'm going to introduce, and you have to take it from here. So that's exactly what I did. Like, Dr. Joe Murray kind of set my career up starting with Louisiana Lafayette, because I was going to go to California to a JUCO college, or to Mississippi to a JUCO college. And he saw something in me, and I'm glad he saw it. We took a drive down from New Orleans to Lafayette, Louisiana, and there go the history.
I always say it just takes that one person. I mean, me being a teacher by trade, it just takes that one person that can see it inside of you, and they want to take a liking to you and help you succeed. And that's great. You found somebody in your principal, because that doesn't always happen. My school's got like 2,700 kids in it. It's hard for our principal to, I mean, he knows a lot of the kids, but it'd be hard for him to find a little something in everybody. So that's great.
Well, he was into sports. Not only was he the principal, but he was the athletic director.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it made it good for me. Now I was playing baseball, football, basketball. So, and I ran track, wasn't good at track, didn't like to practice. I ran it for like, I didn't even go to meets. Like I just tried it for a couple of practices, and I was like, nah. But for the most part, I tried to keep myself busy with sports. So he kind of saw and took a liking to, and I'm glad he kind of paved the way and helped me out.
But Ike, you could flat out fly. Why didn't you like track?
Because I thought I could flat out fly.
Uh-huh.
They had the Curtis Knowltons, they had the Tillman Garners. Tillman went to, Florida State as a wide receiver. We had some dogs coming out of Louisiana, running track, and they've been running track all their life. I've never ran track a day in my life. I was just like naturally fast. You ask anybody, rest in peace, my dad. You ask anybody who ever raced my dad, they say my dad never lost a race, and I'm talking about with boots on. So I guess naturally it just came genetically.
Yeah, I was always impressed with your speed, your catch-up speed, even when you were a little bit behind. You were always tracking somebody down. Hey, you played running back in high school, right?
Yeah, we ran a wing T offense. So I was the wing back on the left side, and on defense, I was the defensive end.
Favorite play in high school if you played that wing? Because I know the wing T well.
Favorite play? It was always the reverses, but I did a lot of blocking. Like I was small. I was 150 playing wing T. I was a blocker for the most part. We had a fullback and a tailback. They were some dogs. I tell people this all the time. I was probably the 5th best athlete on my football team.
Ooh.
But my work ethic was unbelievable. But in order for me to get on the field, I had to be like a kamikaze kind of guy. And to play, defensive end at 150, you gotta like the physicality. You gotta like contact. You gotta be kind of like, a few of your screws gotta be loose. That's just how it was. So I was the like sacrificial lamb when it came down to my squad in football. But I appreciate every bit of it, because it made me be physical throughout the course of my career.
You probably ran a lot of Sally then if you were running that reverse, right?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So you go to ULL and you become a corner. How'd you like that move?
Well, I went to UL and became a running back. I walked on to become a running back. So I played running back my junior year. And my senior year, Coach Gary Bartell and Coach Tom Shaw. I'm sure a lot of people heard of Coach Tom Shaw, speed
Yeah.
and conditioning coach out of New Orleans. Was the head strength coach for the Raiders for a period of time. They both told me, man, your physicality, you'll do a pretty good job at switching over and playing corner. But you know, at the time when I was playing running back, I didn't want to hear it. Like I was like, man, I'm trying to get my name in the paper, and how I get my name in the paper is scoring touchdowns. So I walked on as running back. I transferred to cornerback at my senior year, and we had Coach Baldwin was my junior year coach, and we wound up getting Coach Ricky Bustle from Virginia Tech. Coach Ricky Bustle had Michael Vick, and he looked at me as a running back like, bro, you can get to the league. I like what you're doing. You can be 1,000-yard back. But Coach Gary Bartell and I, we already had an agreement that I would switch over to corner, and there you go.
So you go to the Steelers, your fourth round pick. What was it like when they drafted you then? I mean, they obviously Cowher drafted you to be a corner, big, lanky, can get after it, doesn't mind sticking his nose in there. Were you excited? Because there's a storied history behind that team. What was that like for you?
Well, at the time, I didn't really know the history of Pittsburgh. You know, I knew they had a good defense in the 70s and the 90s. I knew all they knew was smash mouth. I knew, as kids will call it now, I knew they didn't mind timing, and that's putting their face in the fan. So at the time when I got there, I was a fourth round bust. That's what the newspaper article said, because they knew nothing about Ike Taylor. I mean, a guy that's, you go into an organization historically when you want to talk about secondary guys, your Rod Wilsons, your Mel Blunts, you can go down the line, or your Cornell Lakes. You can go down the line with secondary guys, and it's like, okay, them guys been playing corner at least for 3-4 years in college. Who is this guy? Like, he's raw. We don't understand. We don't know. Um, that's a draft pick that was wasted. But little did they know I had the mindset. So just getting drafted, was honored that I was drafted. Just reading the articles, I was like, okay, so now they just brought more fuel to the fire for me. And I kind of just took off, and that been my motivation from that point on.
What's the difference going from that high school locker room to that pro locker room? People don't know the difference. I mean, there are a lot of people who play high school ball, whether they're just wearing a shirt, standing on the sidelines, whatever. But there's a big difference going from that high school locker room to that pro locker room. What's the biggest difference?
Well, the high school,
Hey.
the high school locker room was, I want to get on the field. I want to go to college.
Yeah.
I at least give myself a chance to get to college. College was political. If you wasn't, now they do stars. And I remember Coach Chris Gannon, he played in the league, the strength and conditioning coach. He was a tight end, but he was our strength coach at UL. He played in the league, and he said, hell with stars, all the stars. They got stars in the sky. I don't care about a 5 or 3 or 4 star. That has nothing to do with nothing. I want dogs. That's what I want. And I was one of them dogs. Now the pros is business. It's not business, it's business. And what you got to understand is, if you're not consistent week in and week out, coach can't put you on the field. And you got to fight through first, second, third rounders. You got to fight through a lot, because these GMs and these coaches, they want to look good. They want to look right.
Yeah.
So that's what I had to fight through my first 2.5 years. Was a second round draft pick here, another second round draft pick here at corner. Okay, if you're looking at an Ike Taylor from the outside looking in, he on his way out, because the 2 guys we drafted in the second round, we drafted Brian McFadden. I mean, Brian McFadden was an all-stater coming out of, Florida, who went to Florida State.
Yep.
Ricardo Coakley probably could have went anywhere he wanted to go, but due to some certain situations, he went to Tussle. But you want to talk about a hell of an athlete. Ricardo Coakley was a hell of an athlete. Got picked in the second round, like 38th, 39th pick. So now you look at old Ike Taylor, only played cornerback for 1 year in college. It's like, oh shucks, he on his way out. But I took that in stride, and that's when I understood. I understood the business part of the NFL as a rookie, and that's listening to the veteran guys and seeing how the front office maneuvered. So that's what kids got to understand. It's a business. Like it ain't it, a first rounder would get opportunities more than none, more than most. But if you don't live up to expectations, I lasted longer than most first rounders that came. I'm lying. I lasted longer than all the first rounders that got drafted with me because I was much more consistent. So I wasn't that bust. I wasn't overhyped. I got drafted exactly where I needed to got drafted, and I took advantage of it.
Who were some of the guys that influenced you in that locker room? I mean, you said
Deshae Townsend, he went to Alabama, 4th-round draft pick. Uh, Willie Robb, he was a corner. He went to Seattle, late round draft pick. Bussy, Jerome Bettis, we call him Bussy. James Ferrier, Joey Porter, Hines Ward, Troy Polamalu, Tyrone Carter, Chris Hope. All them guys like had some kind of input into the shape of the or the mold on what I was, you know. So I just took a little bit of all of them. Like Tyrone Carter, who played safety, he ain't nothing but like 5'8", was a Thorpe Award winner who went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then I get a Troy Polamalu, who's a Hall of Famer. I get a Chris Hope, who's a 3rd-round draft pick, built like a stud. I get a Deshae Townsend, who now coaching a defensive back coach for the Chicago Bears. Like, I was surrounded by guys who can give me a little bit of everything to be a pro. And that's what I was fortunate enough to have in that one locker room.
They love to keep their guys at home too. They like to sign. I know that's the one great thing about the Steelers. They like to develop you and grow you and keep you around, right? They don't necessarily like to dip into free agency that much.
Now they Pittsburgh pride themselves on knowing how to draft.
Yeah.
And you really got to do something stupid for them to release you or let you go. If Pittsburgh drafted you, you're gonna be a Pittsburgh Steeler for a long time. But that was all on what you did in the offseason, because they're gonna give you a chance. And for the most part, you know, just that's why they're so successful and always in the hunt to get them Lombardi trophies, because they stick and they know how to draft, and that's what they pride themselves on. They care nothing about free agency. Now, when you want to talk about the Minkah Fitzpatricks and the Joe Haydens, they was on Pittsburgh radar during the draft. They just couldn't get them.
Right.
But they always felt like those two guys, in my mind, was Pittsburgh Steelers, and they wind up having the opportunity to get them. So when you get guys like that, you know, from free agency, that's the only way you look at it. Okay, we couldn't get this guy as his draft pick, and we feel like he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. But if he comes up in free agency and we can get him, we sure going damn sure get him.
I know people got like, oh, no first rounder this year. I said, your first rounder's already playing. He got a year under his belt in Minkah. I mean, he was a stud when he came out. You know, that was a great trade for them.
So what I tell people is to put themselves in the GM perspective. Fans, coaches, everybody who I talk to, like, okay, yeah, your first round draft pick just went to the Pro Bowl and was all pro.
Yeah.
During the middle of the season.
Yep.
That was your first round draft pick. And that makes it even better, just knowing Kevin Colbert. That makes it even better during the season. Okay, I don't have a first round draft pick, but my second round draft pick, I'm gonna do as much research. I'm gonna watch as much tape as I need to. I'm gonna trust my eyes. And this second round draft pick I'm about to pick, damn near about to be a first rounder. That's how I know how he works. So just that whole front office, man, like I say, man, they just pride themselves. They don't care about height, size, and speed. The first thing they ask is he a Steeler? And Troy came out with a long Facebook message and Instagram message, who is my best friend, on what it was to be a Steeler. And if people can just go to Facebook and go to IG and read what he thought was Steeler was, basically he's speaking from the whole organization from the 70s all the way till now.
What was it like playing for Dick LeBeau?
Dicky, all-time great, man. Dicky got what people don't know about Dicky. Arnold Palmer is from Latrobe, PA.
Yes.
Rumors have been said Dicky was as good or as better as a golfer.
Wow.
Than RIP Arnold Palmer. Now, them two was very close friends. It just so happened Dicky is a Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame cornerback. Dicky would give you Motown stories from the Marvin Gayes to the Jackson 5s by living in Detroit forever. Dicky is a pool shark. Dicky will smoke you in cards. Dicky can play the piano and the guitar. Dicky has an album. So it's what, Matt, with the looks, with the swag, with the charm. So it's nothing Dicky can't do. And that's what people don't. He just so happened to be a good person. And he didn't yell. He didn't. But when he talked to you in a soft, calm manner, it cut you like a knife. You know what I'm saying? Dicky wasn't all about that. When he said something to you, he meant it. And it was in a demeanor where you respected it. The fact that he didn't yell. But damn, it's like Grandpa talking to me. Like Grandpa sitting in his rocking chair. He ain't even got to go outside. He's looking at my body language. And when I come and I see Grandpa, he done already told me what I did wrong. That's Dicky.
Yeah.
That's Dicky. So legendary. I can go on for days about Dicky, man. Legendary.
You think he could still be coaching right now? Could he have a productive defense on the field right now?
I think Dicky right now would be a good consultant. You know, just going up in age. I mean, Dicky was in hella shape when we played. Dicky, when we was warming up, Dicky will walk every corner of the football field and do his push-ups before practice started. Because he was always in shape, ate right all the time. I mean, a healthy eater, you know. So Dicky just understood life, understood how to talk to grown men. He was an interim head coach with Buffalo. He's been around the block, Cincinnati, but you know, Pittsburgh was home for Dicky. You know what I'm saying? And
absolutely,
I enjoyed and appreciate Dicky, man. Dicky forever will run through my veins. Like Dicky gave me the opportunity. You know, I had to win Dicky over. You know, I had to win him over. And once I won him over, it was a wrap.
He wasn't a big proponent of drafting a guy first, second round on defense and playing him right away, was he?
No, you had to earn it. But that was with Coach Cowher as well. You know, Coach Cowher and Dicky, man. Hey man, y'all them two didn't mind being wrong. Them two didn't mind getting a high draft pick, understanding they messing up and being wrong. If you look at James Harrison, we had Lonzo Jackson, second round draft pick from Florida State, man, like Debo. Coach Cowher was like, man, I'm playing the best linebacker. I'm playing the best corner. I don't care what round you in, I'm playing the best guy.
Right.
So have at it. And that's what you respected about them two.
And it goes back to what you said. It's a business. If you don't play the best guys, you ain't winning. You ain't got a job. Right?
But it's a lot of pride and ego when it comes down to coaches and GMs. Like, they don't want to be wrong. But the guys who don't want to be wrong, they don't win Lombardis.
True.
You know, it's a reason why they got 6 Lombardis sitting on that second floor, and was a main part of a daily activity in a
froze up on me. Talk a little bit about I don't know if you can hear me, but talk a little bit about that zone blitz. What made that so unique?
We used to go by James Ferrier house or Jordan Porter house, and we used to watch tape and discuss if we was in this situation, what would we do? Or how can we, linebackers, how can the secondary help you out? And the linebackers used to tell us, hey, secondary guys, how can we help you out on this call? So going into the field, we'll talk about it.
Um, I don't know if you heard me ask you, but what made that zone blitz that LeBeau used to put on the field? What made it so unique?
Discussions off the field. And Dickie will tell you that, like, my zone blitz only works when everybody know what the hell they doing.
Okay.
So it was complicated, but us spending enough time off the field, watching tape, studying film, understanding the rules, that's what made that zone blitz complicated. Because if you just went through that zone blitz in practice, it wasn't gonna work. You had to spend a lot of time off the field and talking to, whether it's about communication or rules, how that zone blitz was gonna work.
What made that 2008 defense so special? I mean, that thing was loaded. Palomalu, James Harrison, Hampton, the list goes on, including yourself.
And you got to think, a lot of us been playing with each other for at least 5 years. Now, it's hard to keep guys for the most part in the NFL on the same team for a 5-year span because of free agency.
Right.
But for the most part, all of us been playing with each other for a long time. So the communication part was eye contact. That's how good we got it. Coach Ray Horton simplified what an offense coordinator was going to do, to the point I still use that to this day. Hey, look, this is this coordinator. This is what he like to do on first, second down. Now, they're going to have a wrinkle when it comes to formations, but offense coordinators, just like defense coordinators, they don't want to change their style. Y'all understand the weakness of the defense. This is where they want to attack. Now, if we playing a Randy Moss, who was at New England at the time, respect where Randy Moss is at. If we playing Atlanta with Julio Jones at the time, respect where he's at. But this is exactly what the offensive coordinator wants to do. They just so happen to have a special running back or receiver, always know where they at. And once he simplified the formations, like, okay, they about to do this this the formation they like on first down, this the formation they like on second down, this the formation they like on third down. Okay, let's get a little deeper. This the formation they like on first and 10. This the formation they like on second and 5 or second and 8. This the formation they like on third and short to long. Once we got that down pat, it was a wrap. Was a wrap.
Who do you think was the most difficult to prepare for? Outside of, I know division games are difficult. I get that. You know each other. I get that. Who was difficult to prepare for outside of the division though?
Tom Brady always been our kryptonite. You know, Tom always been our kryptonite, man, and I respected Tom because Larry Foote, who played with Tom Brady at Michigan, who was our inside linebacker, he always said how good Tom was before Tom even became Tom. So, and I tell people this, hell what the news is saying, from a body language standpoint, from a player to player communication standpoint, if you just listen to what they say, they telling you the story, what's going on in the locker room and on the field. If you can read in between the lines. So a lot of people like to listen to the news or the media. Nah. When something bad or good happens, look at the sideline on the team. Look at their body language. They already telling you if this person is good. They're already telling you, like for Lamar Jackson, if you looked at the sideline when he first got in and started, guys on defense was on one knee because they couldn't wait to see what he was going to do on the field because he was doing it in practice.
Yeah.
There's no mystery to who's good or who's not good. So from this point on, including you, Pops, from this point on, just start looking at an NFL sideline and they're going to tell you the story on what's going on in that locker room.
Is Lamar Jackson going to continue to have this type of career for the next 10 years? Or just like Mike Vick, it'll slow down eventually?
Nah, Lamar ain't taking the hits as Vic did, the rules has changed in the NFL on protecting quarterbacks. They're doing more 7-on-7 from a middle school standpoint. So passing wise, they're going to get better. Lamar, offensive coordinator and coaching staff with Coach Harbaugh, they adjusted towards him. See, I thought the problem was a lot of offensive coordinators ain't give us, meaning black quarterbacks, a chance because they always wanted us to rearrange to their offense. They couldn't adjust to us. Now they're adjusting. Andy Reid, and you can go back to his Donovan McNabb days, adjusting. Josh McDaniels, who's the OC for the New England Patriots, who has Cam, he adjusted his offense. Coach Harbaugh adjusted his offense. So when you got coaches who will let their ego aside and be like, okay, this the offense I've been knowing for 10 to 12 years, terminology, play calling wise, but I feel like I got a special player at the quarterback position. I gotta adjust.
Did you expect that? Did you expect that from Lamar Jackson when he hit the league? I mean, he had his Heisman year, and then the next year he didn't do the same thing. But did you see that in him? I mean, I know you analyze guys.
And you know why? Other than Kevin Colbert and a few other GMs, Ozzie Newsome hasn't missed on draft picks.
I know.
So when Ozzie draft him, you trust Ozzie. When Kevin Colbert draft him, you trusted Kevin Colbert. So it's only a few GMs who has been with the same organization for 10 plus years that's been successful consistently. You trust them.
Yeah.
So when he got Lamar, I trusted Ozzie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I've known what he have done in drafting years before. Ed Reed, a Ray Lewis, a Saragusa. Man, we can go down the line and talk about their Ravens defense.
Yeah.
And you can go down the line with, include myself with Kevin Colbert in the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. You trust them because they know. And they've been very successful over the course of their careers on draft picks. So as soon as he drafted them, I said, damn, little dude got something special. Like for Ozzie to do that, you know, he sees something already that we don't see, but he can sit back quietly and not say it publicly. I told you.
He must feel pretty good now watching from his recliner at home because he put a heck of a squad together. He left a lot of talent behind.
Yeah, he's still a consultant for the Ravens, but I've always respected Ozzie, even when he was at Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just be in the world, and you when you see greatness when it comes to a GM standpoint, and there's not a lot of great GMs. It's because if it was, everybody be winning Super Bowls.
They turn them.
Your Super Bowls rotate. Your Pittsburgh Steelers, your New England's at the time, your Saints, your Green Bay Packers, now the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens. You just go 6 deep.
Yeah.
Consistent.
Yeah.
All you going is 6 deep. It's 32 teams in the league, and you're going 6 deep with a rotation of winning Lombardis. Has everything to do with GM and coaching.
You think Kansas City will get in that rotation now then?
100%. Andy Reid, I mean, again, if you just listen to what players say about Andy Reid, they call him dad. And Andy Reid has done a good job with question mark players coming out of college and making them into Pro Bowl caliber guys. It's a reason. So that's what I'm saying. The story will be told if you just listen to what heck with us with the media. If you would just listen to what the players are saying, they're telling you the story. So I always always look over interviews and the questions that I would ask or you would ask and the response that the players would say, because they're telling me everything I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Hey, Steelers got this draft class wasn't big, but it was a good draft class. Who's your favorite so far out of this draft class?
You know, I'm gonna get to Chase Claypool. And I heard one comment from Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden said a comment about Chase Claypool and how he's been balling and how tough he is to cover. Once I heard that from Joe, I said, okay, that's verifying how special this dude about to be. And now, week in and week out, he's gradually getting more time on being on the field.
It makes does it make JuJu expendable now? I mean, they got some serious dudes they got to sign. You got Bud, you got Hayden, you got JuJu, you got Connor, you got Villanueva. I mean, who are you going to keep? You got to throw in Mike Hilton, Cam Sutton. There's a lot of dudes out there that are unrestricted. Who you keeping?
Pittsburgh will always find a way. And one thing I do know about Pittsburgh, they don't miss on receivers. They don't miss on receivers. Very rarely they miss on receivers. Very. If it's they draft offensive linemen, receivers, linebackers. Well. Very well.
How about
so they I mean, they hit on a quarterback who's been with them 15, 16 years, which is rare.
Yeah.
Like seven is rare. I don't think they're gonna hit on another quarterback like 7. I mean, that's just how it is. So Aaron, Drew, Tom. Aaron, Drew, and Tom. Other than that, man, ain't too many guys been playing 16 and Ben. That's 4 guys.
Philip Rivers.
And Philip. Okay, that's 5. 15, 16 plus years.
Yeah.
Everybody else been in and out.
Ben first ballot?
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100. They drafted the right personality, right guy for that city. Like Ben is a Yinzer. You know what I'm saying? Ben is I named all 4 in front of Ben, and I forgot Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. I've named a lot of quarterbacks in front of Ben. Only Ben can play in Pittsburgh. Maybe Russ and Aaron Rodgers, but from the injuries I've known Ben to play through, I said, man, this is a tough son of a gun right here, man.
Yeah.
This dude here tough.
When he got jacked up that one time by Suggs, and his nose is all off to the side and everything, and he continued to play, I was like, I pulled my son aside. I said, that's how you play football. You don't even bat an eyelash. That's how you play football. You just keep on going.
Everybody ain't made like that.
No, that's true.
Only a few guys made like that, man. Like seven made a little bit different. So that's why I'm glad to say I played with him.
Yeah.
Like, man, I didn't play with 7. So I didn't play with a Hall of Fame quarterback. And if they keep doing what they're doing, they're gonna wind up getting another Lombardi.
How about this? Is the next quarterback on the roster?
I don't know. I gotta see. With the defense they got, if it was like a Trevor Lawrence, but we all know Trevor gonna go super high.
Yeah.
But if a Trevor Lawrence was to go to Pittsburgh, I would say franchise. Right now, I just don't know that defense, because the defense has played as a young quarterback or old quarterback or a quarterback period. All you pray for is a good defense in the running game. That's what Pittsburgh got right now. When Ben was winning his Super Bowls, Ben had a good defense in the running game.
Yeah.
The defense slacked off for a couple of years. Now they back to the old Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Now you seeing 7 maturing and doing what he doing with some young receivers. So I just know, other than Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers went 15-1 and their defense was ranked last in the NFL for 1 year. But then when they beat us, you know, the defense wasn't ranked high, but they was catching turnovers.
Yeah.
The same way with Drew Brees. Like when Drew Brees won, it was a good running game. The defense wasn't ranked high statistically, but they was turning the ball over and giving Drew Brees extra possessions. So that's just what. But as far as like sitting in Pittsburgh, yeah, we pride ourselves on being ranked high. You know, so and with that comes turnover. So it's all good.
Ike, I'm going to get into your feelings right now. Let's talk about Mr. Rooney, because I know you.
Right.
It's very public knowledge. You had a very, very close relationship with him. What made that so special?
I don't know, man. And I talked to Troy last week about this. I said, man, there's a few angels that came in my life, you know, outside of my family. I said, you, my son, and Mr. Rooney. You can't script the relationship we had. We had an unbreakable bond. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I can't even put it in words. And I think people heard about our relationship, but when Pawpaw wound up dying and they saw me and his 6 grandkids being the pallbearers, like, oh shit, they really did have a hell of a relationship. Like for Ike Taylor to be a pallbearer and to look at everybody who came to Pawpaw Rooney funeral, I'm talking about Obama politicians, I'm talking about owners from the Jerry Jones to damn that every Hall of Fame Pittsburgh Steeler and some players from other teams. Damn, Ike T sitting with the Rooneys.
Yeah.
So, okay, again, this just verified how special their bond was. So I took pride in that, man. Pawpaw Rooney taught me a lot off the field. And it was more on being humble. And the humble part was, you know, him pulling up to the facility in a Buick LeSabre. Like, dang, this man write my check and he riding around in a Buick LeSabre.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So that changed the whole, you know, mindset and aspect of me in life on what I thought I needed for me to look and be successful.
He was still living on the north side while he owned that squad, right?
Still. His wife still, they still over there.
God bless him. You feel like the ownership is the same? You feel like his son runs things the same, builds those same relationships inside?
It was more Mr. Art is more of a businessman, you know, because he's a lawyer. Yeah. So he runs it a little bit different, you know. More of a business. Pawpaw was raised with the players. You know, if you read his book and if you listen to him speak, you know, he always talk about them train trips and some of the players helping him out with his schoolwork.
Oh wow!
You know, so that's just what it was. Mr. R was raised kind of different. You know, he was raised more on the business mindset. Now, Mr. Art's son Dan, because they always go Art Dan.
Yeah.
Mr. Art's son Dan, I think, is more of a Pawpaw Rooney personality guy. I think in about 15, 20 years, we're gonna be talking about him. So, you know, everybody got their own personality. I'm not expecting Mr. Art to be like Pawpaw Rooney, but as far as like being a Rooney, man, ain't nothing like being a Rooney. So they fam to me and they call me fam, so I appreciate that.
I was a kid when the Chief passed away, but I always envisioned the Chief being just like, as you say, Pawpaw. You know, just the way he carried himself, when he'd be in that locker room after the games with those guys, you know, you would see very little of it because, you know, TV back in the day. But like, I just had that same vision of him. It's the same as you had there with Dan.
Yeah, the Rooney family are just good people, man. Mr. Art, just good people. If I was ever in a jam, I can call Mr. Art right now. You know, Lord forbid if I ever do, but, you know, that's just family towards me.
I mean, he really, in my opinion, he went way outside of his boundaries when he tried to make an amends with a player who really put the team on blast for no particular reason a few years ago, and we won't get into the details of that because we both know who we're talking about, flying down to see the guy and just kind of saying, hey, listen, if you need to part ways with us, that's fine, but let's do this on a civil way. That spoke volumes to me as a person. That's just the way it is. That's that steel mill, small town mentality that I've always admired and loved about them. Everything you said. All right, so here it is. The difference between playing for Cowher and the difference between playing for Tomlin.
Both players, coaches. You would have to ask the coaches on how it was differently. But between Coach T and Coach Cowher, man, they let you just be you. They whatever your personality is, they let you be their personality. They're like, that's just what it is. So I was just fortunate enough to have two coaches, Hall of Fame coaches at that, because Coach Tomlin will get in the Hall of Fame with Coach Cowher.
Unquestionably.
I was just fortunate enough to have two coaches who let you be you. And I think that all started up at the front with the Rooneys.
So when they hire somebody, they're looking for the guy who was like that previously to continue that trend. Is that what you think?
Nah, because I don't think it's a trend. It's this. We've been successful the Rooney way and how we do things. You gotta adjust and fall in line.
Okay. I know three coaches who coached the Pittsburgh Steelers: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. And
Right.
hopefully in my lifetime, maybe another two possibly, but I'm good right where I am. I love what goes on there. It's good stuff. All right, so Ben's back. They started out pretty well. I know he's kind of irritated about what happened with the week 3 thing, but is this a year they can make another run? Is he going to continue to flourish? Are these guys going to continue to pound the rock, stay healthy? I mean, this is really a tough year. And is that defense going to be able to rise up to the next level when they play like a Kansas City? Kansas City's just toying with it right now.
The defense ain't got to play the way they playing. They ain't got to change nothing. They got to be consistent. 7 now just understands, that's 7 offense. So 7 is just going with the flow of the game. If he feels like that day his wide receivers have a mismatch on the secondary linebacker guys and the tight ends, that's what they're doing. If you feel like his offensive line is smashing the defensive line, that's what he's doing. Like 7 got the green light and the IQ to do that now. So it's all on 7. I think 7 taking his time on getting his arm back, understanding where he is as a person, as a player, as the leader of that football and that organization. So they going as far as 7 go. Now, as far as like having the weapons and from a tight end and wide receiver and running back and a good defense, 7 knows, man, I'm not going to mess this up. Because if I don't mess this up, man, we can bring 7-7 in Pittsburgh. So I think he understands that now. I think his growth and maturity, man, as a manager, just as a man in general, man, is far and beyond what people can expect.
You think he'd walk away if they won number 7 this year?
I would. If I was him, I would. If I was him, I would. My number 7, when I got number 7, and I appreciate it. I feel like I've done everything physically and mentally that I can to this organization in this city. So if I was 7 and they wound up winning 7 this year, I'm gone.
Who wins the AFC? Who's your 2 teams in the AFC Championship? Who wins it?
Yeah, it's the battle's going to be Pittsburgh and KC. I'm telling you, and I said Pittsburgh going to wind up beating KC. And if people think I'm a homer, and I'm not a homer, I'm just looking at how good Pittsburgh plays Baltimore. And 7 wasn't in the picture at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that defense now. So, and from a coaching staff standpoint, I know, Coach Butts and Coach Tomlin, they have a lot to do with that defense. So, yeah, I'm looking at them 2 guys, and as good as Casey is, we saw what happened with New England without a Cam. Now they wound up scoring late, But I think with 7 in that running and that passing game and that tight end game and the way the defense been playing, man, I think I'll see Pittsburgh and Tampa, which is that right down the street from me.
Who's in the NFC? Who you got there?
NFC, I'm looking at Seattle or AR 12. You know, because we seeing what AR 12 is doing with 2-3 starters out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
crazy.
And that's what great quarterbacks do. They make names of other people, from the tight end position to the wide receiver position. And their coach LaFleur, he's coming up with game plans. That's crazy. You know, the man had 3 running backs on the field at the same time for the majority of the game.
Crazy.
You know, so when they played the Atlanta Falcons. So I think one of them two gonna come out the NFC.
Ike, if you wouldn't have gone the route of a professional football player, what would you have done? What was your career going to be?
Oh man, honestly, I probably wouldn't even be here, because the way I was going, what I was doing, and how I was acting, my funeral would have been came. You know, I would have been had a funeral. So I just think, by the grace of God, I'll tell you this, by the grace of God, he saved me by giving me a chance in football.
You took complete advantage of that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing in the community down there? I know you run a camp, right?
No, so I train a lot of people, kids, adults, professional athletes. But during this pandemic, you know, everything slowed down. But you know, I got my family, my nephews and my sons. So for me, it's being unselfish, making sure they're straight, trying to get them to understand generational wealth, things they don't teach you in college that I found just by trial and error through football. You know, so that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm just taking care of the family, man. For me, it's my mom and my sisters and my whole family. As long as they smiling, I'm good. As long as I feel like I'm educating them, I'm good.
You worked hard, and you were a lifelong Pittsburgh Steeler. If you wouldn't have played for the Steelers, what other team might you have wanted to play for? Who
ain't no other team.
That's it. Good for you. And I like it that way. Hey, I do this one final segment. It's called Decade Definers. I want you to tell me the top 5 receivers you faced in your career as a Steeler.
Ocho, AB, Randy, T.O., Steve Smith Sr., Eric Mose.
Interesting. What made Mold so good?
He's strong as an ox. That grown man grandpa strength.
Yeah, he never got the credit he deserved, did he?
Ever. And he get all that, but he never got the credit he deserved.
Hey, Ike, thanks for being with me tonight. I
appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you giving me your time, and it was great talking to you. So much insight, and I wish you all the luck in the world going forward, taking care of that family and training those people and getting back on getting it going again. Hopefully COVID doesn't continue to slow us down.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah, go Steelers, huh?
Yes, sir.
Talk with you, Ike.
All right, cool.